TV. I'm Tony and I'll be your host. I'm the marketing manager at Wide Plus. In every episode of Wide Plus TV, we'll be exposing marketing secrets, insider knowledge, and business advice and lessons that we've learned through the creation of Wide Plus. Wide Plus is your chance to take a little bit of time out of the day and to join me in discussion about the marketing world. Even if you don't want to join in using the hashtag #TeaBreak, you can still take some time away from your work and see what we have to say. We need you to share your most pressing marketing questions, to share the word about Wide Plus TV, and also to take part. Yes, as I previously mentioned, we also want to interview marketers, business owners and influencers on this very channel. If you want to join in, send an email to hello@wideplus.com. So moving on to this week's marketing hack and marketing strategy, we'll be talking about webinars in both this week. Now, this week's hack, first of all, is to ensure that you keep a face to your brand. Now, think about any of the top brand names out there and what comes to mind. So, Apple, Steve Jobs. There's Facebook with Mark Zuckerberg and Amazon's Jeff Bezos. Now, the one thing they all have in common is they have a person in front of the brand, the one and the same thing. Even if your business or brand isn't as big as these names, and most of us, to be honest, aren't that big yet, the one thing that makes you relevant with your target audience is the human aspect. For years, HR and recruitment teams have been told to develop and promote their corporate culture, highlighting the people in their business to attract new employees to them. The companies that stand out all have a public face to support the brand. Have a think about your competition. Do any of them have that public face at this point in time? If not, is there an opportunity for you to stand out in your own marketplace by being more human and putting a human face to your brand? It's certainly worth considering. So now moving on to our marketing strategy, where we'll be covering webinar pipelines or funnels. So at the moment, if you think about it, do you pipeline or funnel contacts through any of the business processes? Effective marketing teams all use specific pipelines and funnels created to lead contacts from one part of the buying journey to another. Sometimes they do that all in one go. Sometimes they move from one flow to another based on certain actions that have been taken or behaviours that have been shown. So it's a little bit more flexible. I could literally spend all day talking to you about pipelining and funneling contacts. We will leave that for later episodes, but for today's episode, I wanted to show you one of the more basic flows that you can use to get started with them. And that is, as you can see on screen, a basic webinar funnel or pipeline. Now, the funnel is made up of a series of landing pages. As you can see, we've got the registration page, the thank you page, the webinar live page, the webinar replay page, and then potentially a purchase page at the end as well. Alongside that, they also have triggered communications running alongside as well. So, apart from the traffic piece, when somebody registers for one of your webinars, you will take them to a thank you page, but that would usually trigger a confirmation email as well. And then from the thank you page, you might be triggering reminders via email, and again confirmation of other details or even promotional messaging before the webinar goes live. And then obviously from the thank you page, you'd also be likely triggering emails to remind people and that the replays are still there to be viewed as well. Once people have attended those webinars and viewed those webinars, you'd then use triggered email communications as a general rule to then get them to move on to the next stage of the funnel, whether that is a purchase page or whether it is a completely new funnel itself. So you've probably been through it yourself already. They feel like a natural progression, don't they? The thing is with natural progressions like this is that they don't naturally feel forced. You don't feel as if you're actually being led down a path, even though that is the case. You just feel as if you're moving from step to step. So I register for a webinar. I would completely understand that I would then be taken to a thank you page. I'd then get email communications to tell me when the webinar's happening and to remind me of those details. And then from the webinar pages, I would fully expect to then receive communications following up from that as well, unless I'd opted out, of course. So when marketers get the pipelines and funnels right, they definitely don't seem forced, even though the marketer is actually taking the contact down a predefined path to their chosen conversion. As you can see, even in this very basic flow, from the traffic stage through to purchase page, there's a series of steps that people go through, ultimately leading them hopefully to that conversion at the final step. So why are pipelines and funnels important for marketing? Well, prospects and customers, in theory, could take an infinite number of routes to get to the conversion if they're not controlled. Now, control sounds a little bit harsh. It's not so much as control, but it's more a case of having predefined flows and then just leading people naturally through those rather than forcing them down specific routes. So if you think about all the channels and routes that a contact could take from first coming into contact with your brand to ultimately making a purchase and then obviously becoming an advocate of your business as well at the later stages. It all ties in with the marketing funnel and the customer journeys that you'll have already plotted out as part of your organisation, part of your strategic build-up, and as part of your buyer personas as well. If you're not using those, definitely start building up buyer personas and the customer journey flows as well. They give you great insight into certain touch points, and then you can manipulate those touch points to make sure that people are getting the right message at the right point in time as well. So think about, what does a contact ultimately need to do to become a customer of yours? It doesn't matter what industry you're in, what products and services you offer, you'll find that the majority of your customers all came through the same touch points and the similar journey. Some will have taken a little bit longer to convert with a few more touch points in that journey. But if you dig into your data, you'll see that there is a sort of blueprint for how most of your contacts convert. Now, if you're not in control of that process, lead times to conversion will be dictated by how each contact wants to move around your channels and come into your marketing messaging. Your reporting and analysis will be following them around rather than you taking the lead, using their behaviours and their actions to move them nearer to conversion with every single contact. It's a more strategic approach. You're not just spraying and praying messaging out there. You know exactly where those people are in the conversion flow, and then you're leading them to the next step naturally without controlling them, without any force. If you get that right, sometimes it can feel as if you're being forced down a route you don't want to go down. Sometimes that works for people who are slightly less decisive. Sometimes you can push people out. So you need to make it as natural a flow as you possibly can, which is where the funnels and pipelines come in. Now, most marketing teams have heard about the nudge theory and the halo effect, but only a few are using them to their advantage and to optimize the marketing funnels. If you've not heard about nudge theory and halo effect before, we do have some blog posts on the Wired Plus Hub, so feel free to go along and have a read of those and catch up with what they are. They're very, very useful when it comes to funneling and pipelining. So let's go back to that webinar funnel to explain this in a bit more depth. So at stage one, the traffic stage, you all know that the three types of media that will drive traffic to your webinar page. You've got paid, owned, and earned. So just to define each one for you quite quickly, paid media are just that. You're paying to push your message through them. So think things like AdWords, social media advertising, TV ads in printed publications. Earned media are media where you've earned the exposure. So word of mouth, SEO, customer referrals, amongst many others. Owned media is the content that you're in full control of. So think your website, your blog, any downloadable resources, they would all be seen as owned media. Now, each of these has its own pros and cons and applies to all of your marketing activity, not just for webinars. So you need to consider the mix of those types of media outlet. The choices on what you use and what you don't use obviously are entirely up to you, and they come as part of your overall strategy. But as part of this funnel, you've got to have traffic coming in. Once the traffic comes in, we can then lead people down this flow. So at stage 2, which is the registration page, this would usually be made up of one single landing page. It's simple, it'll be clean cut, it's going to be high conversion, or hopefully it's going to be high conversion. If not, what you do is optimize it to make sure it was. Now, first of all, if you run a Google search for landing page optimization, you get somewhere in the region of about 500,000 results. Alongside that, there are millions of sites out there that discuss landing page best practices, and that'll give you a host of award-winning templates if you need them. We will be discussing landing page optimization in next week's episode, so keep your eyes out for that. But for the sake of this webinar example, we'll keep the registration page just clean and simple. So if you think about that, all it has to do is showcase the benefits of why someone should be attending your webinar, and it needs to make it easy for that person to sign up for it. It doesn't need to do anything else, nothing more, nothing less. Showcase the benefits, make it easy for people to sign up. Now, how you lay that page out is entirely up to you again. But we have got a proven formula for webinar registration pages, which I'll take you through now. So first of all, you need your logo. This gives you instant brand awareness, and it should instill more trust in the person viewing the page. So it's just that little bit of awareness and familiarity. You then obviously need a headline. Now, this should clearly tell the viewer what the webinar is about, be one of the benefits of attending. It should really showcase the next section, which is the title. So naturally, this is the main title of your webinar. As with any blog post titles or subject lines for emails, it needs to be catchy, but it also needs to be concise, and it needs to be honest as well. There's no point in getting people through to sign up for the webinar and then you don't deliver on the promise of the title. So try not to be too link baity with or clickbaity with the title, should I say. Make sure it's concise but catchy enough that people are intrigued and they'll want to sign up. Underneath that, you'd usually have some sort of subtitle or subheading, which is a brief introduction into what the webinar is about. Now we move on to the main copy of the page. So you need to list the benefits of registering for and also attending the webinar. So you're not just wanting people to register, you also want them to turn up as well. Now the usual format for that is a list of 3 bullet points, but through split testing your own webinar pages in this case, you'll be able to work out what the best number of bullet points is, how much text you need to write for your audience to buy into it as well. So as with any other marketing approach, you do need to split test. Next, we usually have a video introduction. So it's usually quite a short video, usually between sort of 30 seconds to a minute, presented by the person that will be hosting the webinar, and it should reiterate the benefits of actually attending as well. A human touch here can make the difference between a successful webinar and one with no attendees at all. Just going back to our marketing hack as well. Now, the call to action and registration button, obviously you need a call to action. Now, this is where some marketers have different opinions. You basically have 2 choices. You could either use a call to action button to take the person to a form where they submit the details to register for the event. So it could be another landing page, a hosted data capture form, or even something like a modal that opens up when the button is clicked. The second choice you have is to embed a form straight into the registration page, which you can see we've not got space for in this example. The choice is up to you, as both approaches have their own benefits. Either way, though, you absolutely must collect at least a name and email address from anyone wanting to register to attend. Just for pure logistics, you need that to send confirmation details, reminders. But thinking a bit further down the line, this is a lead generation approach. So you also need to get your marketing messaging across to them after the event as well. And the easiest way and the best way to do that is using email marketing itself. Next is good practice to have a testimonial or a few testimonials from previous webinar attendees as well. People need some sort of social proof before they'll commit to registering for any event, even when it comes to webinar registrations. So a nice quote with an image from a previous attendee or even a client can go a long way to securing additional sign-ups for your webinar as well. We do have a word of warning though, don't make them up. That will always come back to haunt you. Make sure they are legitimate quotes, even if you have to go out and speak to previous attendees to get them to feed back to you if you haven't done already. And then finally, one last bite of the cherry. You'll always need a final call to action. It'll never go amiss in converting those people who do want to read the whole page before making a decision as well. So I managed to squeeze that on one page. It probably wouldn't all fit above the fold on a landing page itself. But again, it depends upon your design and what you think is important to include in that page as well. So you also need to remember to include links to your terms and conditions and your privacy policy in the footer of these pages as well. Treat that section like you would do any other web page. So that's your registration page completed. Something I've not mentioned up until now that can get you more sign-ups is actually using countdown timers. They don't work in all cases, but a well-positioned countdown timer can spur people on to sign up, as the fear of missing out is quite a powerful activator. Usually what you do with that is you put it either above or below the video block and then move the call to action buttons accordingly. So that's your registration page. So moving on to stage 3, the thank you or confirmation page. Now this is an important page, believe it or not. If you want to lead people to conversion through your webinar pipeline, you need to do more with this page than just give them a reminder of the date and time of the webinar and give them a link to the webinar broadcast. you can use the thank you page as what we call a tripwire page. Basically, it's an opportunity to get a promotional sales message or product or service or special offer, whatever that is, in front of your new lead and to lead them to that conversion. What you've got to think is when they've hit this thank you page, you've already done something absolutely right because they've given you details to attend a webinar. So they're already quite attuned with your brand and they want to learn a little bit more naturally. Hopefully they're not just signing up for your webinars to get free stuff. Unless that is something that you don't mind giving away. So what you need to think is on the thank you page, use it as a form of tripwire page as well as giving them the details they need. They'll be fully expecting to hit a thank you page. They might not be expecting any promotional type messaging, but I'm certainly sure that there's a good chance they will do what you need them to do, whether that's a download or inquiring about products or services at that stage. And if you don't ask, you don't get. So at least you've not lost out, even if you don't get the number of conversions that you'd expect from that thank you page. Now, obviously, again, any landing page that you're running, whether that's a registration page or a thank you page or even a webinar page, you need to split test them to find the best ones that work for your particular audience and the segments that you're targeting. So as I was saying, on the thank you page, some companies offer things like free audits, free trials of products, special offers at that stage. Don't go over the top, though, and don't forget that it is ultimately a thank you page, but there's nothing wrong with getting that little bit of a message in front of them too. So moving on then, stage 4, the webinar page. Now, this is the page, obviously, where your broadcast will take place. It needs to be well designed so that the webinar is showcased and obviously front and foremost. It also needs to be on brand to keep the consistency of your messaging. And it also needs to be another opportunity to highlight the products or services that you're offering as well. Most people who sign up for your webinars won't stay with you for the full duration of the presentation. You have to be realistic about that. They usually know that there's a sales pitch at the end and that you're likely to be introducing yourself, your business and or your products for at least the first 5 minutes of the webinar as well. So it means that you need to get the messaging across on the webinar page for when attendees are actually on that page. You can't say for sure that they're going to get the messaging at the start or the messaging at the end or even the messaging in the middle of the webinar. So if you've got something that sits on that page that does that job for you no matter what stage of that webinar they come in, then you're certainly doing yourself favours. So ways of doing that, you could maybe include things like ad banners, promotional messaging, popovers, that type of thing, as long as it's not affecting the user experience of the webinar itself and detracting from that message. So yeah, again, don't go over the top with anything promotional on the webinar page, but make the most of that extra opportunity that you've got with the audience as well. So stage 5, webinar replay. So access to this page depends on whether you want to treat people who attended the webinar live differently from the people who didn't attend at all. Some companies want to make sure that people who sign up for the webinars do actually turn up in person, mainly because they feel that they need the messaging and content of the webinar to be delivered in real time to help convert those attendees. So they're reliant on the presenter and the presentation in real time. Other companies feel that the messaging is strong enough so it doesn't have to be delivered live necessarily, so that some will give non-attendees the chance to see a replay as well. Again, this decision's up to you and your own business goals. At Wired Plus, we prefer people to attend live, but we do appreciate that, especially marketing teams, they can get busy all of a sudden and could miss out on the live webinar because of that. So we always record the presentations and share them at a later date too, even for people who've not attended live. So stage 6, the purchase page or next funnel. So now you have a big choice to make. Do you lead people from your webinar pages through to a new landing page that's been designed purely for conversions? Or do you put them into a new funnel or pipeline? This is a tricky decision. What you need to think is, how close to conversion has your webinar taken people? Is this sort of a backup from a conversion that you've tried to get in the webinar even? Were the leads warm right from the start, so they only needed a helping hand? So were they already prospects that you've invited? Or were they absolutely stone cold leads that you've got from maybe Google AdWords campaigns, Facebook campaigns, that sort of thing? The answers to those questions will dictate your next steps. So again, you just need to work out, do we need another pipeline or a new flow that we work from next and move them to another conversion or to the main conversion that we're looking for? So that's how you'd funnel a contact through a webinar flow, and it's a very, very basic webinar flow, as I explained. There are platforms out there created purely for webinars which will help you to build these flows, but they can be expensive and they only do that one job, the webinars. To create funnels and pipelines for all your customer journeys, you need the ability to create landing pages, the ability to collect data from signups, and a means of sending emails. Now, the Wired Plus platform gives you all of these features and much more, all in one single platform. You can create landing pages, you can send the emails, you can collect data using lead capture forms, and you can also manage your contacts and your teams within the powerful CRM function as well. Alongside that, you've also got extremely detailed and comprehensive reporting and analysis functionality as well to tie it all up. So it's not a platform for webinars, it's not a platform for just one approach. The features and the tools within the Y Plus platform allow you to create funnels and pipelines that will lead your contacts through to conversion. If you want to start creating those all-important pipelines and funnels, all you need to do is set up an account. If you want to give it a try, see how quickly and easily you can start building these funnels up, because as you can see on that previous flow, there were only 4 pages that we needed, potentially 5 with the purchase page. It could be a case of maybe 10 or 15 minutes work to get those pages up and running. Now, the advantage of that is also that you can split test these pages very, very quickly as well and swap them in and swap them out. So, as I say, if you want to give it a try, see how quickly you can build them up, use the link on screen and set up that free trial account now. So last but not least for this week, an update on the Wired Plus journey. We've been looking at our influencer outreach program again and our advertising approaches, and we've decided basically that we're going to start running regular webinars and how-to sessions, supported by interviews with influencers and marketing teams from other businesses too, so that our viewers can learn from a host of strategies and approaches, and you're not just getting it from one source, you'll be getting it from a host of different places. So we'll be running those webinars from next week, so keep your eyes peeled for our updates, and we will be sending emails and we'll be promoting those quite heavily as well from later part of today. So that's it for today's show. In the next episode, we'll be talking about landing page optimization, so as a step on from our funnel and pipelining strategy today. We've got a great lead generation hack for you, and also we'll be giving you more updates from our journey to disrupt the marketing software industry. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel to make sure you don't miss the next episode. Also go to the Wired Plus journey on the hub, wiredplus.com/hub, and follow our journey on there as well. We've got quite a few good posts in there with plenty of lessons for you to learn from and mistakes that we've made as well. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you can join me again next time. Until then, happy marketing and bye for now. CRM function as well. Alongside that, you've also got extremely detailed and comprehensive reporting and analysis functionality as well to tie it all up. So it's not a platform for webinars. It's not a platform for just one approach. The features and the tools within the Y Plus platform allow you to create funnels and pipelines that will lead your contacts through to conversion. If you want to start creating those all-important pipelines and funnels, all you need to do is set up an account. If you want to give it a try, see how quickly and easily you can start building these funnels up, because as you can see on that previous flow, there were only 4 pages that we needed, potentially 5 with the purchase page. It could be a case of maybe 10 or 15 minutes work to get those pages up and running. Now, the advantage of that is also that you can split test these pages very, very quickly as well and swap them in and swap them out. So, as I say, if you want to give it a try, see how quickly you can build them up, use the link on screen and set up that free trial account now. So last but not least for this week, an update on the Wired Plus journey. We've been looking at our influencer outreach program again and our advertising approaches, and we've decided basically that we're going to start running regular webinars and how-to sessions, supported by interviews with influencers and marketing teams from other businesses too, so that our viewers can learn from a host of strategies and approaches, and you're not just getting it from one source, you'll be getting it from a host of different places. So we'll be running those webinars from next week, so keep your eyes peeled for our updates, and we will be sending emails and we'll be promoting those quite heavily as well from later part of today. So that's it for today's show. In the next episode, we'll be talking about landing page optimization, so as a a step on from our funnel and pipelining strategy today. We've got a great lead generation hack for you, and also we'll be giving you more updates from our journey to disrupt the marketing software industry. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel to make sure you don't miss the next episode. Also go to the Wide Plus journey on the hub, wideplus.com/hub, and follow our journey on there as well. We've got quite a few good posts in there with plenty of lessons for you to learn from and mistakes that we've made as well. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you can join me again next time. Until then, happy marketing and bye for now.